Have you ever thought about taking a vow? I mean, a really serious one? One that changes how you look, what you eat, even who you can be around. Well, today we're diving into an ancient practice from the Book of Numbers called the Nazirite vow. It was this incredible way people could dedicate themselves to a sacred purpose. And we're also going to uncover the story behind one of the most famous blessings ever written, found right in the same chapter. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off by figuring out what this vow of separation was all about, along with its 3 super strict rules. Then we're going to look at the high stakes, like what happened if someone messed up, and how did they celebrate when they finished. And to wrap it all up, we'll see how this intense personal journey connects to that beautiful priestly blessing, which was meant for everybody. Okay, first up, the vow of separation. Now, when you hear separation, you might be thinking of someone becoming a hermit, right? But that's not it at all. This was a public, deeply personal promise to live differently, to be set apart for a special spiritual reason, all while living right in the middle of their community. So that brings us to the big question. What exactly was a Nazirite? The name itself sounds so ancient and kind of mysterious. What did it actually mean for a person's day-to-day life? Well, the clue is actually right there in the name. Nazarite comes from a Hebrew word that means to separate or to consecrate. And get this, the text makes it clear this was a special vow that anyone, both men and women, could choose to take. It was completely voluntary, a personal decision to dedicate themselves to God for a specific amount of time. But this wasn't just some internal feeling of being dedicated. Nope. This vow was made real. It was made visible through 3 very specific rules that completely shaped how a Nazirite lived their life every single day. These were the 3 pillars of the whole deal. Stay away from anything made from grapes, don't cut your hair, and don't go near a dead body. Pretty straightforward, right? But as we were about to see, each one had some really deep symbolic meaning. Okay, when the text says, abstain from the fruit of the vine, the level of detail is just incredible. This wasn't just about skipping wine, which, was a huge part of celebrations and daily life. The rules specifically say no vinegar, no grape juice, not even fresh grapes or raisins. I mean, from the seeds to the skin. It was a total separation from this entire category of food. Now, the second rule, this one was impossible to hide. Their hair just grew and grew. It became this unmistakable public sign that this person was set apart for God. It was like a walking, talking reminder of their sacred promise, both for them and for everyone else they met. And that third rule, wow, this might have been the toughest of all. See, in that culture, touching or even being near a dead body made you ritually unclean. So a Nazirite couldn't go near any dead body. And the text is brutally clear about this. It didn't matter if it was your own mother, father, sister, or brother who had passed away. For that period of time, their vow to God came before even the most sacred family duties. But, life happens. What if someone died suddenly right next to them, and the vow was broken by accident? Well, the text lays out a very clear path to get back on track. But man, it was a costly one. This whole ritual just goes to show you how seriously they took this vow. It involved shaving your head, bringing specific animal offerings for atonement, and then reconsecrating yourself. But look at that last step. That's the real kicker. Anytime you'd already served on your vow, it was just gone. The clock reset to 0, and you had to start the whole thing over again. All right, enough about breaking the vow. Let's talk about successfully finishing it. When the person's time was up, it didn't just quietly fade away. Oh no, it ended with a really big, really public ceremony. So the whole thing concluded with a ceremony at the tabernacle. There were a bunch of specific offerings, but the most symbolic part had to be shaving their head, the very sign of their vow, and then placing all that hair into the fire of the peace offering. And only after that whole ritual was totally finished could the person finally drink wine again, which was the sign they were officially back to normal life. And this is where the chapter takes this amazing pivot. Right after all these intense, detailed laws for one individual, the focus suddenly zooms way out. It moves from a personal vow to a huge blessing meant for the entire nation of Israel. So God actually gives Moses a specific formula for a blessing. These aren't just some nice words a priest came up with. No, these are divinely ordered words that the priests were commanded to speak over all the people. It was an official, required act designed to place God's favor on the whole community. The blessing starts with this really foundational request, a plea for God's provision to bless and his divine protection to keep you. It's so simple, so direct, and so powerful. Then it adds this beautiful picture of God's face shining on them. Now, this isn't just about light. It's a powerful metaphor for God's favor, His presence, and His undeserved kindness, His grace.
And it wraps up with this line: for God to lift up his countenance toward you means for him to turn his full attention and his approval in your direction. And what's the result of that? Peace. And we're talking about the Hebrew word shalom, which is so much more than just being quiet. It means wholeness, completeness, total well-being in every single part of your life.
But maybe the most powerful part comes right after the blessing is over. God explains why He wants the priests to say this. He says that when they speak these words, they are putting His name on the people. It's this profound declaration of identity, of who they belong to. And God's promise is so direct: if you do this, I will bless them. So think about the journey we just took. We went from the intense personal commitment of a single person, the Nazirite, all the way to a blessing that covers an entire nation. This chapter lays out this incredible dynamic between individual devotion and group identity. And it really leaves us with a question, doesn't it? What can these ancient practices of devotion and blessing teach us about what it really means to be committed and to be part of a community in our own lives today?